Scene 2.
Take one.
So welcome to Let Them Talk and our new digs, which is your studio, right here on the beautiful Hudson River. A little different, but we're in the post-COVID world. We were talking about masks and vaccinations, and I was saying I have to admit I've been vaccinated, and I carry my mask wherever I go usually. But that's all right. You don't have to show us. We believe you. And here's my guest who's returning for, I don't know, umpteenth time. Fifth time. I have to count every time.
Yeah.
This is good friend Barbara Rosenthal, an artist, and who's come to talk about her latest adventures in art. And we're going to talk about her attempts to archive her work so that posterity will have it. And she's the author of numerous books and articles, art shows, well known about town. And if you haven't heard of her before, you should have, and here's your chance to catch up where you've been. All right, so Barbara Rosenthal, welcome to Let Them Talk at your studio.
Thank you for having me again, Paul. My studio is called E, like electronic media, loft, LOFT.org. And we've done a lot of things here besides my work. But what's happening is that at emedialoft.org has been the archives of my work, which, go back, into my grandparents' days of things that they've kept, and then beyond that into an almost obsessive.
You talk about the letters between your parents, the passionate letters. We thought they were erotic, right?
An obsessive collection of the things that have accumulated around my life, including the dirt on the floor. And yes, Paul, absolutely. That collection of the love letters between my parents, which are in these beautiful little suitcases, are astonishing. We're astonishing about how any element of one's past and one's generational past can have some type of influence on who they are and then what art they make. And the benefit or the purpose of collecting an artist's archive would be exactly to see what those subtle influences are, on especially of an original artist. I mean, it's obvious, the sledgehammer influences of, that artist is about, feminism, or that artist is about, the Bronx, Teller Avenue. I almost thought about buying the apartment I was born in. I don't own any real estate except my grave. I own that already. So I thought about that and making it into some type of foundation. I've always said, understood, like when I understood myself as an artist, not just a consummate original creator and technician of the materials I work in. I look back through history and thought, of all the things that we really are delving into archaeology of art to find out about. And, why should I throw any of that away? If, somebody maybe, 20 zillion millennia from now are looking for it, why throw it away now? Like maybe eventually, so I collected from the beginning.
So how will you archive this? How will you make sure posterity has it?
It's happened already. CUNY, the City University of New York, has been happy to get it. God, I mean, not only do I live by the Hudson River, and I have this incredible loft, and I have this wonderful, incredible life, and I'm trying, make sure to have the karma to deserve it and keep and stuff. But all my dreams are coming true. And the reasons that I'm doing things are finding out to be the social and cultural reasons that I thought to do them in the first place. You know, I mean, they're getting like every. I mean, I'm going to say this, but you don't. You know, it's not every subway token I ever bought, but it's you know, maybe every Eurail pass or whatever I bought, every train. Why? Because when I went to St. Petersburg, and I went to Anna Akhmatova's, apartment, you know, there was a train ticket in a little on the wall. Like, this was her train ticket from Moscow to Paris. And, you know, like, we care about that shit. And, you know, so in a way it's tongue-in-cheek. You know, are you really going to care about one of my, you know, bills from whatever? Like, but maybe yes. I mean, if the purpose, if I could say that, in trying to do anything with my life or whatever, to keep going forward on whatever biggest vector is pulling me forward, it would be that kind of fulfilling my destiny. Like, yeah, and I like to goof on it too. Like every idea that I hold really seriously, I see as absolutely ludicrous. You know, and that's like, here we go, like Homo futurus, right? I mean,
in the future.
I'm almost through with the trademarking procedure of this as you know, totally credible projects of they want to make sure it's saleable. Well, you know, you can buy stuff out there, prove it. The idea that I can't trademark, you know, is anyway. What I mean is the seriousness and the ludicrousness of it. The sense that the hominid will continue, but, you know, as was in my journal, like my 1982 obsessive compulsive, you know, journal keeping, is that Homo futurus might not be human, which is when I began to have the understanding of, you know, not the cyborg mechanical thing. I mean, mechanical engineering is definitely like transition between some type of disappearance of everything. I think things are going to go into some type of what do you call that, with the C thing that is tool, the impossible Einstein quirky thing.
Works.
People made a point about my last novel, Wish for Amnesia, that it has a quirky and arrangement, you know, and I thought about that for a long time, and I think that it's related to what had been said before about the dualities of everything I do. There's two opposing forces and a triumvirate with some type of catalyst happening. And again, in the last book, Amnesia, the Beatrice can jump from place to place. She can turn from black to white. She, you know, she's there in a burqa before anybody in the world knew what even that was called. That, and then in a nun's habit, you know, and then white and black and visible and invisible, and, you know, on one bridge of the Seine, and on another bridge of the Seine.
We left off talking about Wish for Amnesia, your last book, right? Your most famous book, maybe.
And these are what is most currently in publication: Time on the Move by Xanadu Press, which I'm the photo artist here in it, or let's put it a different way better. The pictures in here are my photographs. And the writer is Barry Wallenstein. I'm only pretending to forget his name. He's the editor of American Book Review, who published a wonderful review of Wish for Amnesia. Okay, here's the other thing that I'm in. It's Live Mag. The editor is Jeffrey Cyphers Wright, and I'm on the back cover with a surreal photograph. And on page 37, one of my most popular, which disturbs me a little bit, but anyway, most popular surreal to conceptual pieces, and it's called Conceptual Compositizations, Indiana, 2006. So you can see how long ago that was. But this concept of the distortions and twists and things. Bob Dombrowski had an article about me called, of all places, the Chattanooga in Tennessee, called "The Artist Who Works with Instability." So that sense of the personality causing the image, and all of the distortions that one might consider insane are, part of the artist's tool bag to come across the world in a lot of different ways. And I guess what's been happening because of the interest by the City University in acquiring the archives by a person who both was an obsessive compulsive collector of all materials relevant to the development of my psyche and my images. Thank you, God damn, for getting those words set down. Yes, okay. That's what I've done. That's what I've collected. That's why, as an aside, people, don't like to hear me talk about what I hate, but I really hate it when people go out and pick up other people's trash in order to make art about trash. If it ain't your trash, you don't care enough about it. Go make art about what really, you have actually been part of your, obsessions and stuff. I mean, somebody in rags, like rag clothing things, I have rags that have come down to me from my mother and grandmother.
The real thing.
Yeah, and like, I think partly the rag trade is a Jewish gene that somehow, Lamarck, they've proved that there's a little bit of, Lamarckian genetics and stuff. The rags, the tailoring, the sewing, kind of thing. I don't know. It's not like I'm a big, it's just part of, of what I've done. And the archives are damn, they want my wardrobe. I'm gonna name her. I don't. If she's doesn't want you, you can cut it out. Annie Toom. No, actually, I'm not gonna name her, because then everybody out there is gonna say, "Oh, take my things." But you want your archives collected, man? Go look at some artist stuff, like Chekhov. I went to his house. I went to Dostoevsky's house. I wanted this as part of what I've understood. The awe of the personality of the artist, the whole life of the artist being part. And Anais Nin's psychiatrist, what's his name? He wrote Art and Artist.
Young.
Not young. It's great that I have a neurology appointment coming. I called this thing. I called it the big round thing that we eat off of. I couldn't remember the name table. So you folks out there, you're seeing me with my whole brain almost right now. But who knows? 10 years, I may be some doddering. 1/3 of the Alzheimer's Federation now says 1/3 of seniors will develop dementia, of whether Alzheimer's type or not. But God knows a few people who didn't even have the advantages that the seniors had in the 50s and 60s or whatever. You've been exposed to enormous amounts of pollution. If we're 1/3 now, I bet by the time you guys reach 60, 70, whatever, your number is going to be like 50%.
Why?
Because most of the stresses and pollutants and brainwave shit that climate, like everything that's happened, has accelerated in time. So I think most of our health problems have been caused within the last 10, 20, 30 years, not the last 60, 70, 80 years. So if people who are born within this time frame have been born in, I saw the flash.
No, it's still.
Okay, good.
It's still recording.
Okay, good. Have been people born within these last 20, 30 years have been born into the pollutions that we did not encounter, the pesticide, certain pollutions we grew into that you did not have. But mostly, you've grown into a much more polluted world. You were born into a much more polluted world. So if we're getting demented at a 30% rate at the age of, I'm 73. When you reach this age, if we're 30% now, you can look at your cohort at 50%. That's my prediction. They call me Cassandra on the Hudson, is the Hudson, because I do have a lot. I've had for many, many years a fairly dire, prediction, including the viruses, including the lantern, not the exact, bug, the lantern. So anyway, all of these things have been written down in in my notes, and little by little, all these crazy ideas over time, and the understanding of who we are, who I am. My first book, it's not on the table, but it was called Clues to Myself, meaning that everything I produce is a clue to what the personality is. Scene 4, the last 8 minutes. Take 1.
And so, as we head into the tail end of this discussion, what messages do you want your fans to take away from all of this?
Quite a few. And I see things a little bit like in outline form. So maybe like Roman number 1. Like, an overview of a really kind of open mind, awe of everything. The widest possible view of everything on every side. And then a kind of symbolic happening while you're accumulating the stuff that really matters and shunning the stuff that does, and then putting life into a kind of different category and evolving into the producer of unexpected, original, surprising, and in some ways funny even, ways that depict the identity of an artist from the absolute kernel, which I'm going to say is soul and psyche, which is what I named my 1996 book, Soul and Psyche, that almost metaphysical thing, with the sense of, these kind of things like existentialism. What does it mean to be a human like everybody else? Like, even if you're political, go join the farmers and the plumbers, and, on their line, you give up being an artist looking for nirvana to, be a propagandist for, the causes. Go join the causes, Anyway. So what's happening, which is so exciting, is that this phenomenon of my accumulation is being appreciated on an enormously grand scale, as far as I'm concerned, grand scale. I mean, how could any number one artist and number two obsessive compulsive accumulator be and with the word archives always, I mean, that room I've called it the archive room, for decades. I can't believe how long I've been in Westbeth. 25 years. I'm just beginning to feel that not thing that people feel when they rent, that they really might be thrown out, any minute. It's always a scare, but I don't think it's going to happen. And I think so, the universe has been pretty damn good to me so far, and I'm trying to keep the karma up. So on that note, I kiss you all.
So tell us more details about it. Can other artists or researchers learn from your archive? Can they get a hold of it and look at it? Is it open to the public?
I'm sure it must be. It's not. It hasn't left my studio yet. I have an open, or the immediate loft studio has a by appointment. Thanks for asking. You can do a preview of the archive as it is in situ in my studio. If you call the mysterious phone numbers or the mysterious email addresses, I will not tell you on air. I'm going to make you do your homework if you really want to come, because, man, I really don't want to spend a lot of time showing stuff. So if you're really serious, find out how to reach me. There's an ad in art. I'll give you a couple of hints. There's an ad in art forum, and I'm with some really nice people on the page, Postmasters and White Box, and it was nice. They gave me the upper right corner. So you could see the previews of the archives, and my website calendar has the open studio situation, but I do put you through your paces. Everybody says, it's so hard to read. It ain't by not design. I had an idea of, I like there's me that you're seeing here, but then there's the Barbara Rosenthal red name stamp character. And I've been thinking, I hate to leave the studio. I hate to go anywhere. I hate to go to the openings. But I have to represent the Barbara Rosenthal artist, character. And then I realized I could maybe hire someone to do that. That would be Andrew Warhol would do something like that. He'd hire someone and take his name stamp around if he wouldn't need the name stamp. And, and then I wouldn't have to leave the studio at all ever.
Yeah. That's perfect. You never want to leave the studio.
That's about it.
Sort of like
that's about
an
it.
umbilical cord to your studio.
The outside world is the stimulus from the outside world is really too much, and it gives me a million zillion ideas for new work, and then I have to go back to the studio, and I mean everything turns into art, and believe me, if I sound like I'm complaining, man, ain't complaining. But this is one of the, I'm admitting, it has a kind of pain to it. Is this it's incredible? Everything turns into art.
Everything you touch turns into art.
Well, I mean, that would really be going too far. But everything that I'm aware of, like an idea of how it works into art, and I'm trying extremely hard to condense the categories, at least, so that I can put some of these ideas, like into projects already in formation. The novel is the most liquid in terms of this. That ideas, and the most liquid part of it is this character, Tom B. Stone, which we discussed in an earlier take, which you guys probably out there will never see. But you can go figure.
Might hear it.
Yeah, you'd have to figure out how how you want to put it in the show. But anyway, Tom B. Stone is a psychiatrist. So a lot of the wacky, off the cuff ideas that I don't really can't develop at the moment because I'm off into a million other ideas. I give to some of his patients.
Well, anything to wrap up?
See you next time, and I think I want to bring the archivist with me, and we can talk more about actual physical archiving.
Great. Barbara Rosenthal, thanks a lot for joining us on Let Them Talk as we kick off a new season in this post-COVID world. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.